Hello, everyone. James is here. Welcome again to Easy English Talks podcast.
Hi, everyone.
Today, we're diving deep into something that I think is really, really important for you as English learners.
Absolutely.
And that is how to train your brain to actually think in English.
Yes.
So I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this where you're constantly translating in your head from your native language to English. And it's like there's this constant back and forth.
Right.
And it can be exhausting, it can slow you down, and it can really make it difficult to sound natural and fluent.
It really can.
So today's deep dive is all about breaking free from that translation habit and developing that ability to think directly in English.
That's right.
Which, let's be honest, is like the holy grail for any English learner.
Yeah.
So to kind of kick things off, what would you say is the first most important step in this journey of learning to think in English?
Well, I think it all starts with immersion.
Oh.
Really surrounding yourself with the language as much as possible.
So you're talking about like listening to music, watching movies, reading books. Yeah.
Exactly. All of that podcasts, even just changing the language settings on your phone and your social media.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, just constantly exposing yourself to the language.
So it's kind of like creating this English-rich environment for your brain to soak it all up.
Exactly. And, it's like anything, the more you're exposed to something, the more familiar it becomes.
Right.
And the easier it is to process.
Okay, so immersion is key, but I'm guessing it's not just about passively absorbing English like a sponge.
Right. You're absolutely right.
There's got to be more to it than that.
It's not enough to just have it in the background. You really have to actively engage with the language.
Okay, so what does that look like? What are some examples of active learning techniques that can help us with this?
Well, one technique that I find really helpful is something called brainstorming before listening.
Brainstorming before listening.
Yeah, so let's say you're planning to listen to a podcast about travel.
Okay.
Before you even hit play, take a few minutes to just jot down any English words that come to mind related to travel.
Okay, so like airplane, hotel, suitcase, those kinds of things?
Exactly. Maybe even some more specific words like jet lag or passport control, just whatever comes up.
I see. So I'm kind of like prepping my brain to be ready to hear those words and understand them in context.
Yeah, you're basically priming your brain to be on the lookout for those words and phrases.
And that makes them stick better.
Exactly.
That's a really good tip. I like that.
And then another technique that I find really helpful is idea mapping.
Idea mapping. Okay.
So after you've listened to something, whether it's a podcast or a video or whatever, take some time to just jot down the key points that you remember in English, of course.
Okay.
But here's the key. Try to do it without translating in your head.
So it's like really testing my ability to recall information directly in English.
Exactly. You're forcing your brain to work in English mode.
Got it. Okay. So I'm seeing a pattern here. We're talking about actively engaging with the language rather than just passively consuming it.
Exactly. And there's another technique I wanted to share that I think you'll find interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
This one involves using visuals. So what you do is you find a short video clip,
Okay.
turn off the sound,
Okay.
and then you describe what you're seeing in English, obviously.
Oh, I like that. So I'm basically like doing a real-time English commentary in my head.
Right, exactly. And this is really great because it forces you to think in English without relying on the audio cues.
And it's probably good for vocabulary too, because you're having to come up with different words to describe what you're seeing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're really activating your vocabulary.
So I'm sensing a theme here. It's all about being active with the language, finding ways to use it to express ourselves, to think in it.
Exactly. And just like with any skill, the key is consistency.
Okay.
It's much more effective to practice regularly, even if it's just for a short amount of time each day.
So like 30 minutes a day would be better than like 2 hours once a week.
Absolutely, consistency is key.
Okay, that makes sense.
And, we've been talking a lot about listening and kind of internal thinking, but of course, speaking is a huge part of this as well.
Right. Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to actually use English in conversations.
Exactly. So one of the best things you can do is find opportunities to speak English as much as possible.
So like joining a language exchange group, find a conversation partner.
Exactly. And even just talking to yourself in English can be really helpful.
Talking to myself. Okay. I can see how that might be a little strange at first.
It might feel a little weird, but it really does help.
So what would I even talk about?
Anything. Describe your day, what you're doing, what you're planning to do. Even narrate what you're doing as you cook dinner or get ready in the morning.
So I'm basically like giving my brain a chance to practice thinking and speaking in English?
Exactly. And another thing that's often overlooked is the importance of small talk.
Small talk, yeah.
Those everyday interactions like ordering coffee, asking for directions, greeting people.
Right, right.
Those are all great opportunities to practice your English.
So even if it's just a few words here and there, it all adds up.
Absolutely. Every little bit helps.
And I think one of the biggest things that holds people back from speaking is the fear of making mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. Fear is a huge obstacle.
Well, we have to remember that everyone makes mistakes. It's part of the learning process.
Exactly. It's how we learn and grow.
And I think it's important to not take ourselves too seriously,
Yeah, have fun with it.
Have fun with it. Laugh at your mistakes.
And, one thing that can be helpful for overcoming that fear is to do some structured practice.
Okay, how so?
Choose a topic, something you're interested in, maybe your hobbies or current events or whatever, and just talk about it out loud in English for a few minutes each day.
So I'm basically like giving myself an English thinking out loud session.
Exactly. It's a great way to just get comfortable with expressing your thoughts in English.
So to kind of bring it all together today, we've talked about the importance of immersion, active listening techniques, and speaking practice. And all of these things are really essential for developing that ability to think in English.
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen overnight. It's a journey.
It is. It's a process.
But it's a journey that's definitely worth taking.
It is.
And I think the most important thing to remember is to just be patient with yourself.
Yeah, be kind to yourself.
And to celebrate those small wins along the way.
And have fun with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's one small step that you, our listeners, can take today to start thinking in English more often?
Pick one of the techniques we talked about today and commit to trying it out.
Whether it's brainstorming before listening, idea mapping, talking to yourself in English.
Whatever resonates with you.
Give it a try and see how it goes. And remember, don't forget to subscribe and share the video with your friends.
Yes, please do.
Bye. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.